Hello. My software isn't on. Give me a moment. Because, I ran into some issues. But, hello Soul Train, hello Nibby, hello Burning Valkyrie, hello Div, hello Crimson. Okay, so connect, refresh. Hi. Okay. Everything should be working now. So, am I displeased? Oh man. What did I do this weekend? There's something I did do this weekend. I watched Madam Web. That movie fucking sucks. And also, sorry if I'm stiffly. Probably got allergies. Mildly annoyed, maybe, but not displeased. What? Why did you do that? So, it was something to do while I was like, playing Overwatch. I was just kind of sitting there playing games, and I'm just like, all right, putting this movie on, and then I was just like, every couple of every now and then during the movie, I was just like, man, this movie sucks. You already had the jacket off? That's convenient. Take that. Uh, you have good news? They came back saying I have money on my brain. Hmm. Hmm. But not for long, cause US medical bills suck. Ah. Ah. My time machine only turned 97% of my brain into tumors. Hmm. Mm. Mm. Yeah, I'm not all here. Allergies. Hi, D-Man. Ugh. Sorry, I'm gonna have to deal with a little bit of sniffling until my, like, allergies calm down. Alright, you're putting my mask on. Fair enough. Not sure this helps. Just remove my glasses. Also, you guys are redeeming the fish, and is it even open? It's not open. Excuse me. So you won't fuck up your glasses with the mask? Oh, I appreciate it. You're right, that is something that I deal with. I don't know how I feel about it. It's just there in my playlist because it was a new baby metal. Hmm. Ads. I do a CAT scan each year. My brain says my family has a history of brain tumors. Another clean year. Let's go! I really don't know how I feel about Ratata. I think I like it. I'm not sure. That's my stance on this song. Hopefully my internet doesn't go out. I'm running into like little bit of internet hiccups here and there. I told them that's all the alcohol and living fast. Hang on. At least as fast as I can. Look, I don't think there's any real point worrying about stuff like that. Which is slow for all you kids. Um. So we doing, boss? I don't know. I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing today. Okay. Video react? Maybe later. I'm a little distracted because I'm like checking a million different things. Okay. Yeah, clears throat. What? What? Smash. Oh, where was I? I got distracted. Wasn't I talking about Madam Web? Who's actually watched that movie? Anyone? The movie I heard nothing good about? Yeah, that movie. That movie. That really shit movie. It's so bad. It's so bad. And if you ended up watching Madam Web, I'm so sorry. It's hey. Man, holy shit, I am like I'm having a stroke today. I forgot what T2 meant. Ah, yes, Nibby, thank you. Tier 2, yes, that thing that... No, I don't know what Tier 2 means relative to Valorant. Do you smell something burning? No. No, I don't. I'm not actually having a stroke. I'm just extremely easily distracted right now. Like, just more distractible than usual. Ah, yeah. Look out behind me. There's nothing behind me. I could tell you something, though. Nibby definitely checked. No. Not my fault. It's not my fault. I didn't invoke this. He's so paranoid. Yeah, VTubers can't turn around. We're doomed. You guys can look behind me for me. Guys, what's behind me? What if I like move my head over here? I can only move a little bit left and a little bit right. I'm just kind of stuck here. Look, there's my wife. Right here. What you mean, questionable anime girl on the tablet? She's not questionable. Ah, you need a close-up? Give me just a moment. Excuse me. Let me go through my bookmarks. My bookmarks that I definitely cannot open on my stream. There it is. Okay. Have fun. That's who's usually behind my head. Yeah, everything in that thread there should explain everything you need to know about the girl behind me. Yep. Yeah, I saw a post go viral where someone posted. That was from Majikoi, and I was just like, what the fuck? It's crazy. Where is it? There it is. Yeah, somehow their post went viral, and all it is just a screenshot from the game. Who are you? Who am I? What am I? Who am I? Who actually am I? Not sure if I didn't change my title. Is that my title last stream? I'm a professional streamer, I swear. No thoughts. Head empty. There we go. Perfect. I woke up. I sat at my desk. And just kind of stared at the screen for half an hour. And then I went live. Yep. That's what happened today. I want to maybe play a game today. Maybe. I wonder if it's worth even doing. Playing a game. Allergy medication. Okay. Alright, I've taken allergy medication. Does anyone need me to elaborate on that game? Because I can talk about it. I could talk about Majikoi. It's a visual novel about really, really strong samurai girls. All really, really, really strong. Really, really strong lineup. Really popular voice actors are in it too. Like, if you like the Emperor from Code Geass, he's in that game. He voices the president. Or Prime Minister? No, it's Prime Minister, not President. Wakamoto. I love Wakamoto so fucking much. He is like my favorite voice actor. He voiced Cell, he voices so many characters. So many characters. You watched it in dub, so you don't get to witness the glory that is Wakamoto? Here we go.
あの交差点でみんながもしスキップをしてもしあの街の真ん中で手をつないで空を見上げたら
Same voice actor that went
チャンスがつかみたいのならまだ泣くのには早いよねただ前に進むしかないカメハメハ
Wakamoto. Norio Wakamoto.
つまらないでしょヘッドフォンかけてリズムに乗せてブラブラ開けて私の道をブラブラ進むいろいろなことどんどん来てるあなたの気持ちぽいぽい捨てるベジータは誰そうそういい子ああいう目にハッピーエブリデイブラエブリデイブラメリーゴーランド乗りたいのエブリデイブラエブリデイタイムズブラ多分そんなんじゃダメでしょブラブラ出してしまえばいいの全然知らない
I love every time he always just randomly likes to throw in a Vegeta.
ラブラ開けて私の道をブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブラブ では君が私のウォーミングアップを手伝ってくれるのかな
I love the way he rolls his tongue.
どうした笑えよベジータあの交差点でみんながもしスキップをしてもしあの街の真ん中で手をつないで空を見上げたらもしもあの街のどこかでチャンスがつかみたい
What do you mean, Ayo?
まだ泣くのには早いよねただ前に進むしかないカメハメハブラブラ進むいろいろなことどんどん来てるあなたの
There's like a playlist here. Black Rock Shooter. He sings Red Eye Circulation. Forgot what that song was.
Every time is brrrr 多分そんなんじゃダメでしょブルラブルラブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブルブ
The part where he goes, mana! It's like, what the fuck, it's not over?
角のブーは喉を悪くします。皆様ご注意ください。
ダメダメ。
Or is it Renai circulation?
でもそんなんじゃダメ。もうそんなんじゃほら心は進化するよ。もっともっともっと。
Doesn't sound like him. I fucking love Lucky Star. The OG of cute girls doing cute things anime. Moi Blob.
なんかたるなんたかる愛してるあれ一個が違ってる悩みも後日も美味しいもいい加減にしなさい。飛んでったあいつもボトルからっていわゆる普通の女の子。
Anyway, that's Wakamoto. I'm sure there's better representations of Wakamoto, but uh
現実世界に干渉できなくなれば貴様が何を企んでいようと意味をなさない。死んだも同然だ。
I posted the Space Marine cover of Elton John. Nothing but the best. What have you done? Hang on, I'm looking into this. Okay, hang on. Where is it? Where'd you put it? Music! Yo, it's one of my, like, favorite songs! Alright, I need to listen to this. Oh, it's Bolt Gun? I thought this game was okay. There are things I wish. Heresy. Never did. I don't remember what my problem with this game was, because there is a problem I had with it. A lack of Elton John? Yeah, I'm sure that was one of the reasons. Something about this game makes me kind of sick. The Lord of Change. Okay, I can't look at this. I genuinely can't look at this. For whatever reason, watching someone else play this, I don't get motion sick, but this game makes me motion sick when I watch someone else play. I don't know why. So, like, yeah, I don't know why. I don't get motion sick normally, but that's starting to make my stomach churn. Your brain is jealous? Jealous the one that I'm not piloting it? I got really sick when I brought Rage on to play Bolt Gun a long time ago. Whenever the fuck that was. When was it? I don't remember. Excuse me. Someone made a edit of one of the Can't believe the meme song is called Smell the Game. Their game. Don't worry, we'll be ready when you decide to get Space Marine 2. Oh, I want the game! It's a bit steep. It's a bit steep considering everything I just bought. That's it. Yeah. It's a full price game in Australia with Australia tax. Seriously, it's $100. It's 100 something bucks. It's really expensive. I would love to play it when it comes out, which is like, might already be out, actually. Oh, it's out. How much is it? Ugh. Ugh. That's a game I look at and kind of wince at the price. It looks fun. I want to play it. I like the fact that I don't have to be, you know, any particular, you know, I get to, yeah, the whole build and play your own Space Marine. I like that. I want to do that. I want to customize my own little fucking I know it's a Smurf, but you know, at the very least, but man, that game is fucking steep. Holy shit. I don't think I could even stream it. I don't know if like a PC can handle it. I can't even stream Tekken. Weapon cosmetics, what? Can I change the color of my Space Marine? You can be any chapter you want. Look. Fuck! Wait! Hang on! You can be any chapter you want? This game just went from fucking something I really want to something... Holy shit, I need to play it then if I can be any other chapter other than fucking... Wait, does that include Chaos? Does that include the Heretic chapters? Probably not, right? No? Currently, yes. Oh, man. I'm so upset that I can't buy it. Oh, man. So we have all of the Loyalist chapters, right? I know what I'm gonna be if I get to pick a different chapter other than the fucking Ultramarines. And the second founding? Oh. Hang on, I need to throw a DM. Oh my god, you could be other chapters? Fuck! That increases my interest by so much! Ah! I doubt they have the best chapter. Do they not have the best chapter? Holy shit, I want to play it. I also need friendos to play with. Wait, what's the best chapter? What's your best chapter? Tell me. Surely the best chapter is the Salamanders, right? Look, I have two chapters I like. It's the Space Wolves and the Salamanders. The Space Sharks, led by Tiberius the Red Wake. You can play both? Oh, nice. You know, I'm looking them up. Are they? Which chapter is this? I'm looking. Holy, their fucking aesthetic goes hard. Yo, Imperial Fists. No, what? Dude, I skip. Oh my god, that's so expensive. I fucking hate this. Why does every game have to be so fucking expensive, man? I wish I wasn't paying for a bunch of fucking other shit for the stream. I would have had enough. And been like, yeah, I can justify this. Nah, fuck me. I swear to God. I just want games to be reasonably priced. The only games I buy nowadays are $30 and under. I could justify that. $30 under? Easy. A giant even for an Astartes, Tiberius dwarfs even his fellow Void brothers. Tiberius is never seen outside of his archaic suit of Terminator armor, but when revealed, his face is a corpse-white nightmare with half the bones of his face exposed. In a bloodless grimace while his eyes are a soulless, depthless black. Holy shit. Is he bigger than... Is he also bigger than what's-his-face? Vulcan? Mr. Partial Orc? He's in Terminator armor. And he speaks softly? Nice trope. Good trope. Good trope. So are they in the game? No way. You didn't... The bell on my Steam better not be Space Marine. I swear to God. Oh my fucking God. Why? I was content with just picking it up later. Matt, you have to stop. You have to stop. Stop it. Stop giving me games. I hate receiving so many things without receiving giving something in return. Oh god, that is such a shit feeling. I've been streaming for 6 years and I still can't get comfortable with this. See, when people get subs and whatnot, at the very least, I'm just like, yeah, you got emotes. I could justify that. Anything else, I'm just like, no. And because I really want to play the game. Alright, I have received the game. Why, though? At some point, I'm going to stop talking about games on stream. I'm just gonna stop mentioning how expensive they are and then just pretend like I don't care. That way, Matt won't give me any games. You fuck. How big is the game? 64 gigs? Oh, it's not even that bad, alright. Now we just have to get the campaign cleared and it's on to the fun. Can you co-op the campaign? So you have to do the campaign to do like what? Yeah, I needed to send a DM to someone then. The real endgame PvP and unlocks. PvP, then you do ops as any chapter you want to unlock. Oh, you had to go through the campaign first? I guess that's not that bad. I just wish it wasn't the fucking Ultramarines, man. They're so overrepresented. I'm so fucking tired of blue boys. But it'll be fun if I can co-op it. Can I even fucking convince these fuckers to get the game and play with me? Well, we'll find out. But cool, now I can blossom Xenos. As much as I would rather be a Xeno. if at the very least I get to play a chapter I care about, then that's all that fucking matters to me. Alright, should I install it now? Wait, if I install it now, my... Okay, I don't want to sound ungrateful, but thank you, Matt. As much of I call you an ass and fucking bastard and a piece of shit or whatnot for doing so, thank you. I do actually appreciate it. I'm not ungrateful. Fuck, does it still feel fucking awful? But wait a second. Hey. You didn't do this again, did you? Wait. Oh, okay. I was gonna be really mad. If this wasn't just standard. I had to check. Cause you fucking bought me the fucking whatever version of Street Fighter. Street Fighter was fun. I played like 4 hours of it already. I hope they continue to add more characters to Street Fighter 6. And maybe add a character I like more than, I don't know, Cammy or Chun-Li or fucking Juri. Although, it'd be really hard to replace Juri. Okay, So, have you guys heard of this game called Astral Party? It's like orange juice, but worse. I know that sentence sounds strange, but if you've heard of 100% orange juice, Astral Party is 100% orange juice, but worse. Except it has a... it looks fancier, I think is the best way I can describe Astral Party. It looks fancier. Okay, so... fuck! I watched, something with a close friend the other day. I've seen 100% orange juice, you're already scaring me? Yeah, it's... Astral Party is 100% orange juice, but with... it looks nicer. And there's... culture. It's 100% orange juice with more... bait. Look, okay, hang on. Why don't I just put it on screen and literally show you guys Astro Party. Okay, so you can already see the difference between this and 100% orange juice. Is this task? Wow. Wow. Wow, season plus login. Wow, bunch of stuff. Yeah, so yeah, you don't get this in 100% orange juice. Yeah, this character. This is the one I've been playing. She's the Lord of Commerce. The Lord of Commerce. I have to get a bunch of this stuff, which I'm pretty sure I can just get from playing the game. And she has a skin. Isn't that nice? Game itself is pretty underwhelming. Hang on, I have to hide myself off screen real quick. Because look at what I'm covering. Like literally look at what I'm covering. Like come on, man. Alright, let me go through the characters. Alright, so you have this one, Mimi. She's the face of the game. Lord of Commerce. You have quirky detective Fanny. I don't know why she's called Fanny. She's a detective. There's the cute nun girl. There's Uncle Employee Padman. But, hang on, let me show you his skin. Look how trippy he is. He's so tripped out. Obviously, these characters do different things. There's this demon girl. She's cute. There's, the pro gamer. There is literally a waste collecting robot. But he has such a cool Bond skin. Hang on. Look at him. He turns into a fucking little robot. A fucking, basically a Gurren Lagann. I've also got this thing. Obviously, you need a weeb with a katana. She judgment cuts. It's crazy. And then here's a Bond. Yeah, oh. Oh is the correct response there. There's a ninja girl. Her scarf talks. She's really cute. I really like this character. There's a Panda Man. Yo! His spawn goes hard! He looks so much better in his spawn. He's so cool. There's a slime girl. Oh god. Alright, so... Alright, she's in a bath. Yep, you know what? I'm not gonna linger on that screen. If you saw that for just a second, you saw that for just a second. I'm not lingering on that. Is this Carol? She's really good. Yeah, I ain't lingering. Huge. Like, what the they're spilling, ma'am! Ma'am, they're spilling! There's this character. Oh my god. I love this. Yes, this game is free. It's a gacha. Sort of. It's 100% orange juice with gacha. Character's cute. Wait a second. What is that emo? Is she sitting on a mouse? And, yep. See the difference here? Is the robot maid? Also has a skin. Very big titties. Classic. There's this character. I really like this one. She's a biker. And that's just super cute. Super fucking cute. Love this aesthetic. But, yep. Egyptian goddess. Fupa trap. The game is like pretty fucking, yeah, there's a gacha and everything. Let me see here. How many of these do I have? What if I bought some of these with the... Let me just do some rolls real quick on this event thing. Maybe I'll be lucky and that I'll pull something. Like that! Looks like I got one of the collectible things out of here. Yeah, there you go. So I have like 291, whatever the fuck this is. And then there's like an animated profile thing. Like if I press play game and go like look through here. Okay, there's like no one playing right now. You get to like equip stuff. What is it? Look at like animated banners. It's just a bunch of cosmetic stuff that like game's super early. Like it's super early on, so there's like barely any fucking content. Like there's only one fucking PvE map. There's a bunch of PvP maps. And the PvP is way more fun than the PvE. But the PvE is what the event is. You have to do the PvE to fucking get all this stuff. It's like snore. Snooze. 100% ours, just the better game. That's it. But yeah, that's Astro Party. It is way more fun to play against your friends than to play with your friends. But 100% orange juice? That's a fun game. I love 100% orange juice. I found out. Hang on, let's throw another DM out. Okay. All right. Okay. I know I flashed it for a second, but if anyone actually wants to go look at that character's skin, it's the Slime Girl in Astro Party. If you go download the game and look at it, you don't have to actually download the game, but you can go look it up. that shit, it is revealing so fucking much without revealing anything. Okay, so do I install this game now? Surely I've got a PC for this. Yo, an end user license agreement. You must carefully read the license agreement before purchasing, downloading, or installing this multimedia program. In addition, certain multimedia programs may provide conditions of use specific to them. Hereinafter, the specific conditions of use, the terms of— oh, Jesus Christ. The terms of which should be referred to and accepted before purchasing, downloading, or installing said multimedia programs associated therewith. There is so much legalese here. Why is it so fucking long? Did anyone read this? Did anyone end the end user license agreement? Does anyone read fucking EULAs? Do people call them EULAs? I've seen so many games just not have any of these things. Why does this game have one? You actually read it? Really? As everyone should? I I don't read these. Because I'm not gonna do anything stupid, usually. Oh, there's a part. Hang on. I found a part that's important. You may make comments, walkthroughs, tutorials, speedruns, reviews, reactions, and other commentary style videos, uploads, blah blah blah, even live streams, using our game content to be shared on your website and video content platforms. We encourage you to make dynamic and constructive comments and creative inputs in your creative content. This means you can share the guidelines, okay? Restrictions, you can only use game content is officially released by Focus and any leaks or unauthorized disclosure of our game content prior to official— okay, that's just more common sense. You shall not promote your creative— official or— okay, you know, don't pretend to be official. Cannot take sounds from the game. Your content shall not encourage piracy. Your creative content must also not be a slavish copy of the lavish. Your content shall not be abusive, seditious, pornographic, offensive, homophobic, defamatory, slanderous, inaccurate, discriminatory, obscene, provocative, or racist. After the Disney stuff, I think at least doing a quick read is important. You know, the only reason I stopped to even fucking look at this is because I thought it'd be content. I usually don't read these. I'll admit it. I usually don't read end user license agreements when it comes to games. And I think you'll find that most people don't read these. So, you can't sneak shit into this stuff. I mean, you should read it. Like, technically, you should read it. But, like, it's for a video game, and the use case of it becoming an issue is, like, so minuscule. Croc mommy. That is the, like, last kind of content that I want to do. God, that no. I'd be pretty put off by anyone calling me mommy. None of that. Anti-cheat surface. Alright, accepts. Alright, will this cause my... Oh, yep, there it is. What if I limit the speed? Limit it to that much. Is there a way to limit? Is there a way for me to limit how much it uses my disk? Oh wait, hang on. Am I good? I think I'm good to just let it download now. Maybe. I think my disk usage is causing more stuttering than the actual speed. Okay, so, you know what I can show you guys? The survival game that's gonna come out in like a month. That I'm definitely going to get, and it's gonna have co-op, which is really neat, because... What's a survival game if I can't survive with a friend? It also becomes a lot easier when you've got a friend to play with. Oh, it is... Last Plague Blight. I brought this up last stream. Where is it? The store page. Did they update something? New grid inventory system. Basic farming. I want the ability to rotate. Alright, I'm gonna launch the game. Alright. Okay, where is this? The Last Plague Blight. Done. That is the wrong scene. Pause. Alright. Should I make a new game? Or should I just play this one? Fuck it, just continuing. I actually really like this. And I'm not sure if I can actually progress. Like, currently I'm covering. I have to wait one more day for like a mysterious letter showed up at the camp. They were like, oh yo, we saw your fire and blah blah blah. And it's telling me to find 60 small copper pieces and 10 small tin ore pieces, which I have not found. Look for nearby cliff faces and rocky outposts. I go like over this way. This way. Okay, game is not performing very well because I'm installing Space Marine. There's a rabbit, some chamomile. So, this is like full survival game, but there's like a plague. That's poisonous. And they do like a lot of cool, it's like time-based stuff. So if I take this stuff and, oh! Okay, so they just made an update and they made it so this item stacks now properly in your inventory. That is so, that's so good. That was like one of the most annoying things about collecting this, because you need this stuff here for rope. My encoding is overloaded. My tracking has died. Am I still alive? Guys? Yes? Okay. What is wrong with my... Alright, you know what? Hang on. Closing this. Oh, my V-bridge just crashed. No, it didn't. Okay, no, I'm good. All right. Sorry, I panicked for a second because everything stopped working on my side. Okay, so you said small. Whoa! What the fuck? I found copper. I need a pickaxe. Can I make a pickaxe? I can only make a steel pickaxe. Okay. So there is metal. Okay, then you break it into smaller pieces. So each one, so I have to find what, 6 copper pieces? Oh. Okay. I see. So metal is in this game now. Yeah, like, there's this, like, green cloud, I suppose I could say. There's a pig? A boar? So I have to find specific rocks. Okay. So those rocks over there were actually metal. Yeah, here we go. So that, right there, is a mechanic called Blight. And that's it, right there. That's Blight. It's indicated by that. And the entire premise of this survival game is to figure out how to stop the spread of this. It also makes you sick. It like, what's it do? Your hunger and thirst, you get hungrier, you get... Why does it say I'm connecting to chat? Why is my chat behaving weird? Hello? Okay. So there should be like an actual story to this. Okay, I'm going back to the base. And then probably dropping off, Hey? Make anything with this? No. Fuck. Guess I'll just have to go put it inside a chest. But I'm looking forward to playing this when this comes out. Probably not going to stream this. Survival games are kind of dry. But I guess it's just like background. Something to stare at while I'm talking. You can also swim. And over there is a wolf. Over there you can see like a bunch of plague. Or the blight over there. I don't know if you can see my cursor. No, you can't see my cursor. Okay. But you can see it. It's like fully taken over that area. It's just a top-down survival game. Alright, so I know what I'm going to be doing later today. I'm going to be looking for metal. Alright. I have 90 FPS. So it looks like this one simulates a lot of the stuff. And the thirst and hunger mechanics aren't done in such a way where it's like unreasonable. You can actually not eat for multiple days. Much like in real life. And like thirst is like... It takes a really long time for hunger or thirst to kill you. Unlike most survival games, where if you, as soon as you're hungry or thirsty, you just look at your health bar and it just goes and you're dead. It's really annoying. Not sure if anyone else has had that experience with it. But here, I'm gonna save my game. And stop playing. And turn my music back on.
Hey, hey!
Hi, D-Man. But yeah, that's the game that I found out about recently. It's definitely the type of survival game that I really enjoy. And it's done in a way that I like. It makes me remember games like Unreal World, except Unreal World is turn-based and really hard to get into. I have the game, I've tried playing it once, but it's really hard to get into. You can do so much in it. Okay, so my plan today. Probably watch a video. There was also this other survival game. What is it? How many of you guys have played Green Hell? Anyone played Green Hell? Cause there's a new update. It's decorations. Oh wow. Wow. Green Hell's another survival game that I actually really enjoy. Like, you get it confused with Sons of the Forest? I could see why. I ended up playing a lot of... Oh, hey! So if anyone's interested in picking up Green Hell, it is currently 67% off. Which means it's really cheap. I don't know how much that ends up being for you Americans. But it's $11 Australian, so it can't be very much. So if anyone doesn't have Green Hell and would like to play it, there you go, pick it up. That game has this one problem with it, though. I find it really easy to not starve in that game. Because you're able to make bone broth, or they call it bone infusion soup, or whatever, bone infusion or whatever. You just use bones and you throw them into boiling water and you extract the marrow or whatever and turn it into like a soup, a bone broth, if you will. And you could just eat that. And bones don't rot. So you end up with a lot of bones. And then you get attacked by this, like, enemy tribe. And it doesn't distinguish human bones. Bones are just bones. So, you know, you don't starve because you've got access to bones. And bone marrow is really nutritious. Anyone had bone marrow? Seeing a lot of bone marrow recipes. Bone marrow food history. There's something I can look up. Got Seth's W engine. I guess that works. What do you mean you got Seth's W engine? Where is it?
In today,
Have you guys heard of this channel, Townsend? What does the Seth's W engine even do? What does Seth even do? I have him, but I don't care.
today's episode, I'll be making bone broth, and I'll be explaining its versatility in 18th century
His
food.
old defense?
Thanks for joining us today on
Oh.
18th Century Cooking with James Townsend and Son.
These proper captions?
Bone broth has really
Okay.
had a modern resurgence, especially in the last couple decades, and very recently it's gotten very popular. But bone broth has a very rich and deep history from the Middle Ages, and especially very versatile and used in so many
Energy
dishes
regen and follow-ups?
in the 18th century.
Oh,
So
okay.
first, let's talk about what we're covering here. Bone
Guys,
broth,
chat.
especially its modern.
Do you guys like bone broth?
interpretation. Bone broth is a meat.
Have you guys
and
had bone broth?
Combination, usually a sort of a difficult to use cut or a leftover.
I love bone
like
broth.
a chicken carcass or something like that.
I think it's really good.
Cooked for a very long period of time at a fairly
You're not
low
sure?
temperature, something just right around boiling or a little
Oh,
bit
I need to
lower.
get some more.
And usually spiced and has some other things like onion in it and used for
Might go
soups
buy
and
some bone
broths.
broth.
And it's very valued for its nutrition that it carries along with it, as well as its frugality. So there's so many different recipes I could pull out of 18th century cookbooks to give you an example of bone broth. The one we're using today
Love
is
bone
from
marrow when it's
Elizabeth
cooked.
Cleland's
Oh, cooked
New and
marrow
Easy
is
Method
so
of
good.
Cookery from 1755. This recipe she calls a rich broth. We're going to start off with 3 pounds of a beef houk, and that is a Scottish term for a cut of meat that today we call a
Scottish!
shin. In some 18th century
Scotland
cookbooks,
mentioned.
it might be called also a shin, a beef shin, and they might even refer to it as a skink. Some of these terms are very kind of confusing. Similar
skink?
recipes also call for other difficult to use cuts of meat, like the scrag end. If you see a scrag end, that means the neck. And you'll see like beef neck used in this, sometimes mutton neck. But all these are the same thing. Very difficult to use cuts of meat.
I watched this
The
guy's
shank here
video on
has got
pemmican.
lots of connective tissue. It's a hard-working
I
muscle,
love
so it's
learning
very,
about
very tough and difficult to cook
old
in any
foods
other way.
and
So
techniques they
many
used
times
to
they use it
preserve
in a broth.
shelf
this
life.
One's so simple. We've got our 3 pounds of meat with the bone in. We also have good clean water, and we've got salt in this recipe, and we've got some spices, and they vary depending on the recipe. This one's got pepper.
You like this guy? The taste of
got,
history. Yo, the taste of history guy is
allspice
cool.
in it, and some mace. Most of the 18th century cooking methods really fall into 2 camps. Either you can take your pot and put this in it and cook it over a low fire for 4 to 6 or sometimes as much as 12 hours, tending the fire all the time, keeping it on a low simmer. Or at times they put
12
this in a
hours.
cooking pot
That would be
and
so
slid it into the
good.
oven and had it bake for a long period of time, probably even overnight, so that this would cook down. Now we could certainly do this on the stovetop, but we're going to do this the easy way today. We're going to use a slow cooker. Most of the 18th century recipes really didn't talk too much about how long to cook this, at least in time-wise. They really referenced what's happening to the meat that's in the dish. They say things
I
like
love
cook
slow
it
cookers.
as,
Slow
until it
cookers are
turns
so
to
fucking
rags,
good.
or until all the goodness.
Can we watch
is
one after
out
this?
of the
Dealer's
meat.
choice?
So let's get
Sure.
started
What,
with,
taste of history?
getting this cooking. Normally we just put our meat
Okay,
down
I'll
in
find
the
one.
bottom of our dish. Now let's add our spices. We've got our salt first and our other spices. We're going to pretty much fill this up, and we're going to put this on low. We're going to let this cook a good long time. You can cooking overnight is great, or you can set this to
Could you
start
sleep
cooking,
if you had something that
before
was
you go
slow
to
cooking
work,
overnight?
and it'll probably be done when you get back. You can let this cook even longer if you really want to. 12 hours, 24 hours even, to really extract everything out of the meat and the bones. And this smells great. The meat is nice and tender. This does a great job, releases all those great nutrients. This is wonderful. The recipe calls for removing the meat, remove the bones, and strain this off so that you take out all the shreds of meat. So there's so much we can do with these items now that we've got them to this state. The meat that's left over here, this is perfect for potting. This potted meat is very common in the 18th century. They'd take the meat that was very cooked like this. They'd chop it up, mince it up. They would grind it in a mortar and pestle even, so that they would make it very, very fine. Then mix it with clarified butter. And then they would actually put it in a pot, like our canister here, and then cover it over with clarified butter. And that clarified butter would stay liquid, and you could store that for a great period of time. When you wanted to eat some of that, you could just dip it out with a spoon and use it as a spread or something else. And the clarified butter would seal right back
Shelf
over
life
the top
techniques.
of that, and you would be able to take out servings as you go. The broth here
Oh, that looks
is
good.
the basis for so many dishes. Most of the soups are going to use a broth like this. You'd also use this broth as a basis for a ragu. So it's used in so many of the dishes.
Can I
Once
just
it's
drink the
completely
broth as
cool,
is?
It'll be very easy to remove all the fat off the top of this broth. If you strain this broth through a cloth and then gently simmer that and reduce it and continue to reduce it, you'll end up with a very thick gelatin, which is the precursor to a portable soup, which we'll probably cover in a future episode. In our next
Portable
episode,
soup
we'll
was
take
actually
this
such a
broth
cool thing.
and we'll
I'm
turn
talking
it
over him, sorry,
into
but
a springtime asparagus soup. I want to thank you for joining us.
portable soup. It's where you keep boiling it until it's just like he described it. You boil it down till it's like a very gelatinous type of state, and then you let it dry, and then you just have this like hard kind of like crystallized. I don't know what word I would use here. It's like it hardens, and then you can break it up and store it in like a little pouch, and then you just have to add water later. Okay, so where is it? Tasting history.
Given the choice
Okay. Let's see. World War II emergency steak. That
during
sounds
World War II,
interesting.
most every country involved, Axis or allies, faced some sort of food rationing for its citizens on the home front. And this led to the advent of numerous
You have
interesting
proper subtitles?
dishes, like this American recipe for
Hey!
emergency steak made with ground meat, milk, and Wheaties cereal. So
What?
thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video as we examine the
What did he say it was
American
made out
home
of?
front during World War II. Thank you to emergency steak.
Ground meat, milk, and Wheaties. Wait, that doesn't even look bad.
Made with ground meat, milk, and Wheaties cereal. So thank
Yeah, what the fuck is a Wheaties? Is this it? Is this Wheaties? Is that Wheaties? Is that what Wheaties are? Are they cornflakes? Or are they different? Anyone know the difference? Is this cornflakes? Or is it different? No, it's called Wheaties. So is this like wheat flakes? Okay, wheat flakes. They have cornflakes, but made of wheat? Or is this a misnomer and it's actually made of corn? Just the other name, Brent? Yeah, but they're called Wheaties. Are they actually made of wheat? Wheat? Get deeper. Hang on. Are Wheaties made from wheat? Ingredients, whole grain wheat. Alright, that's all I needed to know.
HelloFresh for sponsoring this video as we examine the American home front during World War II. This time on Tasting History.
I love minced meat. You can do so much with minced meat.
So this is going to be the first in a series of videos that I release over the next few months about the home front during World War II for various countries, and not just the Allied powers like the US, the UK, the Soviet.
That actually reminds me, he said Homefront. Did anyone play the Homefront games? I remember there was an issue with the Homefront games. And like, there's an issue, like there's a reason people didn't like it. I don't remember why people didn't like it. Nope, was not cool. What was even wrong with Homefront? 2027 setting was like, what? North Korea? USA gets occupied. Holy bad review. Negative review! I would completely avoid this game at all costs. If somebody offers it to you for free, decline. Oh.
Soviet Union, but also the
I actually
Axis
own the game.
powers like Japan and Germany. But since I am from the US, I figured I would start at home and have the first video be from America's point of view, even though we were kind of Johnny-come-latelys when it came to World War II. We didn't even enter the war until a few years after it started, and even then we didn't start rationing food until mid-1942. It was in May of 1942
we
that
still
ration
always
card
keep
was
some mincemeat in the
distributed to
freezer.
all Americans, and this was focused on rationing sugar. This was followed by coffee rationing later that year, which led people to brew Roosevelt coffee, which was just weak coffee made from reused grounds. And then came the rationing of meat, dairy, cooking oils, and a whole host of canned and processed foods. And as ingredients became more and more difficult to find, publishers put out recipes designed to make rationing more bearable. And one of the most iconic of these books was Betty Crocker's Your Share: How to Prepare Appetizing, Healthful Meals with Foods Available Today. The book, published in 1943, starts off with a section on stretching meat and cautions consumers to watch your P's and Q's, points and quantities. The points being a method of buying food. Different foods required different ration points, and we'll talk more about it later, but you had to spend these points in addition to spending money to get food. So it was all about conserving your points. The cookbook gives an example of 1 pound of ground meat, which serves 4 or 5 people and costs 7 points, while the same weight of a porterhouse steak, which could only serve 2 or 3 people, would cost 12 points. So if you're running low on points, but you have a hankering for a steak, you're kind of out of luck unless you follow
I wonder
Betty
how
Crocker's
many of
recipe
the,
for emergency steak. It calls for 1 pound of ground beef or hamburger, a half cup of milk, 1 cup Wheaties, 1 teaspoon
Techniques
salt,
and
1
stuff that
teaspoon
came
pepper,
from this
1
time
tablespoon
period have
chopped
actually been
onion.
preserved.
Place on pan, pat into T-bone steak shape, 1 inch thick.
Because
Broil
right
for
now,
15 minutes at 500
the way the
degrees,
state of
very
our,
hot. Turn
I don't know,
once. Now, I'd like to
societies.
try this emergency steak,
We live in
and I
an age of
think it's not going to
excess.
actually taste like a real steak, but at least it only costs 7
And that
ration
is
points
not
instead of
sustainable.
12, which a regular steak would cost. Though if you have no ration points, you can always make a ration point free meal from today's sponsor, HelloFresh. HelloFresh delivers farm fresh ingredients right
Go away,
in
HelloFresh.
general is cereal, which oddly enough is an ingredient in this recipe for steak. Specifically, it calls for Wheaties cereal. And the reason is because Wheaties was owned by General Mills. And most of the recipes in this book use different products from General Mills because, as we've covered in a previous episode, Betty Crocker was basically just a character that was created to sell the products.
Wait, Betty Crocker wasn't a real person?
Washburn Crosby Company. The thing is, since Wheaties are a flaked cereal, I'm thinking that just
What the fuck?
sticking them
I
into
just heard
this-
about Betty
this
Crocker today, and I did not know she was real.
it will lead to a
She
very
was not real.
jagged steak.
What the fuck? I
So
feel like I've been lied
I'm
to.
assuming that they are being used as a binder of some sort, so I'm going to go ahead and crush them up. Not super fine,
Really?
but fairly fine. And then I don't think it really matters the order that you mix the ingredients, but the way that I did it was I took the pepper and salt and added it to the meat, and then I added the chopped onion and mixed all of that in, and then added the Wheaties. Once everything was combined, I added the milk, and it took a minute or so of mixing, but eventually everything came together.
Oh.
And then once everything
Now little
is together,
Debbie is my main
we
girl when
come
I
to
need
the
something
hard part,
sweet.
and that is sculpting this meat into the shape of a T-bone steak. So put the meat onto a baking sheet lined with foil. And you don't have to use aluminum foil. They wouldn't have used foil at that time because aluminum was scarce and there's a war on, don't you know? But I'm using foil because it's going to make it a lot easier later on. Then
I
start to
sure
mold
hope
the meat
our
into the shape
generation
of a
doesn't
T-bone
have to go
steak.
through
I
like a
think
war.
I got pretty close, though I kind of wish I had like a real T-bone steak nearby to use as a model, but I think I did fine. What is most important is that you don't make it much thicker than 1 inch. He says 1 inch, because if it is much thicker, then the ground meat on the inside is not going to cook all the way, and that would be bad. But once your T-bone steak is ready, set it in the oven under the broiler at 500 degrees Fahrenheit, 260 Celsius, and let it broil.
I'd like
for
to
about
try
8
this.
minutes. Then remove it from the oven.
But I'm probably
and
gonna
flip
alter
it.
the ingredients a
issue here
lot.
is, this is not a real steak, so if you try to flip it like with a flipper of some sort or tongs, it will disintegrate. So the best way that I found to do it was to take another pan that was clean with foil, set it on top, and then flip both of them together, wearing gloves, flip both of them together, and then you flipped your steak. Then put that steak back under the broiler for another 8 minutes or so, or until the internal temperature reaches 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, as we finish browning our emergency steak in the oven, let's take a closer look at what rationing in the US was like during World War II.
No, it doesn't look bad at all. Like,
On December
I want to
7th,
taste it.
1941, the Empire of
I'd alter
Japan
the
launched a
ingredients and,
surprise
I don't
attack
know,
on the American
make it
naval fleet
more
at Pearl Harbor. The following day,
catered
the
towards,
United States declared war on Japan, and
my
Germany
Asian
and
palate.
Italy declared
I'd
war
add
on
a
the
lot of
United
Asian
States.
ingredients to it.
The U.S. was now officially
then serve it with
part
rice.
of a conflict that had been raging in Europe for over 2 years and in Asia for over 4. And almost immediately, the Office of Price Administration, which had been established
probably put
only
oyster
months
sauce, a bit of
before
soy
the
sauce
attack,
in it,
set in
garlic
to
powder,
rationing certain items
MSG.
to the American public. Just a few days after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the sale of tires was cut off. At that time, 75% of all the rubber in the US was used to make car tires. But as a single battleship required over 75 tons of rubber, this meant tires on the home front were a luxury the US could no longer afford. You were actually encouraged / ordered to save your 5 best tires and sell others to Uncle Sam. But should you really need a tire, you could get one, but you had to apply and go through a long process just to be able to possibly purchase one.
But I need
so
to
it
make
was
some
all
food.
about conserving the tires that you did have. And this led to something known as the victory speed, or war speed, which was basically a national speed limit of 35 miles an
National
hour,
speed
which reduced
limit?
wear and tear on the tires. Shortly after the tires became rationed, so too did bicycles and automobiles altogether. Any company that had been making these items instead turned to making military vehicles and munitions. Gasoline too was being rationed, and people were encouraged to join car-sharing clubs, basically carpools. One government poster from the time encouraged you to join one because when you ride alone, you ride with Hitler. And these weren't really optional restrictions. Today, if you are caught speeding, you'll get a ticket. But then, if you're caught speeding, you could have your
If you
gasoline
ride
ration
alone, you
taken
ride with
away
Hitler.
entirely,
Oh.
So you can't drive at all. What's interesting is that the gasoline and other fuels like
Dude.
coal, while very important for the war effort, were not as precious as some other items.
No, can I just make a comment? I honestly feel like too many people, we have so many cars that have so much space in them for other people to be in. I don't know, I just think carpooling is a great idea. The devil on my shoulder has a funny mustache. Oh, jeez. And it ain't the comedian Chaplin. But yeah, carpool. It's. I feel the same way about carpooling, the same way I feel about apartments. I think it's It's very efficient. I don't know, man. I hate big fucking trucks, and I say that as a Texan. I also don't like trucks. Fuck apartments. I will never like apartments. As a functional standpoint, I will always like apartments. I also like the entire thing that comes with living in an apartment. I like it. Okay, this is gonna sound like fucking, I don't know, maybe stupid or weird or whatnot, but whenever I was a kid and anyone ever had like a key card to open a door, I always thought that was really novel and kind of cool. Like, one of the things that I really liked as a kid when I went to Hong Kong and used their subway system was putting the tickets into the machine and then watching and pulling it back out, and I was just like, look, this is fucking neat. And my parents knew, they always gave me the card because they like knew I liked putting it into the fucking ticket gate. And that is something that, like, I don't know, stimulated my brain, and I've always liked the idea of using a key card to open stuff. So now that I live in an apartment, I have a key card that actually, you know, I have to, you know, scan it at the thing, and then the sliding doors open. I have to use it to actually, you know, go tap, fucking click the number on the elevator, and I like that. It's very novel, and I think it's cool. American individualism means not owning my own land or property and putting money into something I cannot own is just gross. I own this part of the building. What do you mean? Not the land. This is purchased. This isn't rented. So it's probably a condo. I don't know if there's it matters. I'm not renting. We're paying off a mortgage here. We bought this apartment or condo. I don't know what the fuck it. I don't think it really matters. It's just an apartment.
Because America produced plenty of oil
Why pay
and
rent
coal, so they could always just make more.
When we could,
But
you
there
know,
were other commodities
put a really
that
large
were
deposit
not
down.
produced at home.
Holy
and
shit.
So they were severely
Owned versus rent is more your
rationed,
gripe
things
than
like
anything.
rubber.
Oh, is that
Most
it?
of the rubber at the time came from
Would
Southeast
you mind
Asia,
then if you
and as soon
owned
as
an
the war set
apartment?
in, the
You wouldn't mind then,
Japanese cut
right?
off that supply completely. Another ingredient that was like that was sugar, and that's why it was the first.
Can't
to be
wait to, like,
rationed,
eventually
because
sell this
most of
this
the sugar
studio.
that the U.S. was eating came from the Philippines, and so the only sugar that was grown at home was from places like Hawaii and Puerto Rico, and that was nowhere near enough to satisfy the needs of American sugar eaters. But not being able to import a certain item was just one reason that
fructose
something might
corn
be rationed.
syrup.
There were other reasons.
Not particularly,
like
actually.
the
It's more the
supply
rent
chain.
is
It was
like someone
very
else's
taxed
purchase.
at
I
the
did look
time,
at condos at
and
one time.
things like trucks and railroads.
Is
were
it better to refer to
completely
where I live as a
overrun
condo?
transporting troops and war
I don't know.
supplies from coast to coast.
There's not
In
much of a
addition, those
distinction
troops being
here.
transported were usually young men who had been taken out of the workforce. So there was a huge labor shortage.
I always say,
And
I always
very
refer to it as my
quickly,
apartment.
Many women stepped in to take those jobs, but it wasn't immediate, and it was kind of a game of catch-up for quite some time. Then there was the issue of feeding those troops who were no longer producing food, because not only were they taking up food, but they also took up a lot of other items that were required to get the food to them in places like Europe, Africa, and Asia. Like, a lot of their food was packaged in tin cans, but the US had almost no tin. And so foods like processed foods and canned goods became
yeah, no, I have
scarce almost overnight. Stores put up signs letting people know
owned.
how their
Owned,
stock had decreased over
guess.
the year, and processed foods were often down around 80%. So to stop people from buying up all the canned goods and hoarding them, they too became rationed. Now, rationing something like sugar is very easy. You get 4.5 ounces per week. Simple as that. But rationing something like canned food is a little bit more difficult. First of all, it's all different sizes, and does a can of tomato soup equal the same as a can
the
of green
age of
beans?
canning
What if you don't
is
like tomato soup?
fantastic.
It
I
just
eat a lot of
became much
canned
more
food.
complicated. Luckily, Britain, who had been rationing for
Spam,
several
the
years
greatest
at this
canned
point,
meat
already
created.
had a system that the US could look at
I
as
eat
a
it
model,
so
and
often.
that was the points system. Every person in
Served
the
with
US,
rice.
regardless of age, received
Very
an allotment
simple.
of red and blue points. Red were used for meat, dairy, and fats, and blue were used for canned and bottled goods as well as baby food. Each week
Fry
you
it
had
on
a
the
certain
pan,
amount of
you serve
points
with
that you could
rice.
use, and you had to use those in conjunction with money to actually buy the product itself.
The amount of
So
abundance at the
they
grocery store I
also
work
started
with
putting price
would have my
caps
ancestors
on
fall
pretty
and
much
weep at the
every
glut
item
of
in the
options.
country.
Oh,
The
God.
system was clunky and complex and confusing for many, many people. So the government started putting out these newsreels to kind of try to explain it. And one of my favorites has a narrator who sounds like a cartoon gangster from the 1940s. And it's funny because he even kind of admits that it's a terribly confusing system. And he says that in comparison, this makes filling out income taxes strictly for amateurs. And there were lots of people who now wish they hadn't played hooky when the teacher was giving out with addition and subtraction. But of course, if you don't figure right, you have nothing to chew on but fresh vegetables, which is hay strictly for citizens who chew their cuds, or maybe rabbits. And this is just one reason why people did not like the rationing system. But most people realize there is a
Excuse
war
me.
on, and I gotta do my part.
I'm
And
sneezing.
So they accepted rationing, even though they were always kind of grumbling about it. But
Neat fact,
in
the size of a normal grocery store is
1943,
on
the government
average
tried
7
to
times bigger now
explain
than in
how important it
1965.
was,
I'd
saying
assume so,
rationing
yeah.
is essentially democratic. It protects the little man who is unable to pay exorbitant prices for articles of which limited quantities exist. Basically, rationing was the only way to make it fair for everyone and to keep down what could be rampant
God, I hate
inflation.
spring.
There were ways, though, to kind of get around some of the rationing rules, and that was simply to eat more foods that didn't require ration points, because not everything required points. Pretty much all fresh vegetables and fruits were never rationed. The canned versions were, because those were being sent overseas, but you can't really
I
send
remember when the
like,
TV
a
dinners
fresh
came out,
zucchini
oven cooked only.
to Germany. It's just not gonna last. So fresh vegetables have
God,
as many
TV dinners.
as you want. And that kind of went for most fresh foods. Fresh milk was never rationed, though.
Wait, hang on. So, we genuinely had a generation that is just TV dinners. And that is why we have such a shortage of people knowing how to fucking cook for themselves nowadays. Oh, God. Oh, man. Dude, you can make someone's life so convenient, you make them useless. Unironically, you can supply so much to someone, and you will literally render them useless. Of course we do. Of course we still have people cooking TV dinners.
Processed milk products like cheese or evaporated milk or butter, those were rationed.
Give him
So if
a
you did
fish,
ever
blah, blah,
want
blah.
your
Yeah,
cheese fix,
exactly.
You could eat Kraft macaroni and cheese because you could get 2 boxes for only 1 ration point. And for getting the most out of your butter, there were numerous recipes that would help you stretch what you had, like mixing butter with gelatin and milk, neither of which required ration points. One of the few fresh foods that was rationed was meat, especially beef, which was one of the most costly
I have some
items,
leftover
both in
KFC.
money
I went and
and
grabbed
in
it real quick.
That's why there are so many recipes from this period for like
Alright, here's a
mock
question.
meats.
Can you eat cold chicken?
Like the one that we're making today, the emergency steak, is using lesser quality meats to mimic a better cut of
Cold
meat.
chicken?
And then there were recipes
What? Yes?
that just tried to
Yes?
kind of
Alright.
replace meat altogether.
That's
like
exactly
one
what
for
I'm about
baked
to do.
peanuts, a meat alternative which included peanuts, tomatoes, and molasses that was baked in a dish. This wasn't so much to mimic the taste or texture of meat. Nobody was pretending that it was, but it was meant to mimic the nutritional value that you would get if you were to eat a sirloin.
Yeah, it's called fried
But even
chicken.
those foods that
You don't
were not
recommend it?
rationed could still be
What, eating
very
cold fried
difficult
chicken?
to get. Like for the entirety of the war, eggs
Yeah.
were incredibly hard to find.
It's
So
it's
you
it's
have a
literally
lot
the
of
hot and
recipes from this
spicy.
period for eggless cakes. Because of all these reasons, people started raising and growing their own food at home. People would raise chickens and rabbits, especially in the city, and if you had a little bit more space, a lot of people would have goats or pigs or even cattle. And then there was the Victory Garden. Now, again, this is something that the US was able to look across the pond to Britain because the British had been building victory gardens for a while, though actually
Victory gardens?
both in the US and in Britain, they had done this back in World War I. But World War II really saw the Victory Garden come to life. The government put out calls for everyone who had a patch of dirt or even available space on their roof to begin gardening their own fruits and vegetables at home. And by May 1943, there were 12 million victory gardens growing in America's cities and another 6
We should still
million
do this.
on unused farmland. Eleanor Roosevelt even planted one on the White House lawn. Cities converted parks to be community-run victory gardens, like the lawns of Riverside Park in New York City, the Boston Common, and portions of Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. And in an era before you could just watch a YouTube video if you wanted to learn how to grow a green bean, they would put out books like the ABC of Victory Gardens to teach us city dwellers how best to turn your backyard into an instrument of war. And I say that because
We have a
that is
whole
how the
garden in our
government sold
backyard.
these gardens, as an instrument of war. A victory garden is like a share in an airplane factory. It helps win the war and it pays dividends too. By 1944, victory gardens were producing about as many fruits and vegetables as the commercial farms of the country, which is pretty darn impressive. What I found interesting
Is
is
it
that
satisfying?
there wouldn't
No,
have
it's really
been
cool
such
that
a
you
need
do.
for these victory gardens had the government not kind of shot themselves in the foot right from the get-go. See, the vast majority
I'd
of
love it if you
certain
were able to
fruits and
scan all the
vegetables
pages
were
and then
being
we could go
grown
through it
in
on stream one
California,
day.
Oregon, and Washington State. And many of the farms were owned by Japanese Americans. For instance, a full half of the tomatoes and 95% of snap peas
Oh,
were
yeah, they are
grown
relics.
just
Keep them
by
safe.
Japanese American farms. And so when FDR signed Executive Order 9066 and sent many of those same growers to inland internment camps, over 6,100 farms were taken, but many lay fallow due to a lack of labor. But since those who had been sent to those camps
be able to
knew
do that?
so much
I
about
don't do
farming,
things?
the victory gardens that they set up at these Japanese internment camps turned out to be some of the most productive in the entire country. And I would actually love to do a whole video just on what they ate at these Japanese internment camps. So if that's something that you
The
would be
Japanese
interested
internment
in,
camp thing was
let me
actually
know,
so
and
shit.
I'll make it into a video. Now, while most Americans were growing their own fruits and vegetables, raising livestock, and accepting the nature of rationing with as much dignity as they could muster, there were, of course, some who thought that they were above the rules and didn't play fair, and this led to a thriving black market. This usually took the form of a consumer overpaying the monetary value of a certain product and not giving the grocer or whoever it was any ration stamps. You know, a little under the table. I'll pay you double, but no stamps. Unfortunately, the person who was taking
How did my
this
days
money
just
had
stream
to
and
turn
beating
in
people's
those
asses at
stamps if they
shuffleboard?
wanted to keep being resupplied.
That actually
And
means
so
a lot
this
if
led to
my stream is the
counterfeit
highlight of
stamps,
your day.
stealing different stamps, or
I appreciate
they would
it.
have to ask
That's high
other
praise.
people who didn't use all of their stamps to give them theirs. And that's why the government said that any unused stamps that you have at a certain end of a period, you should destroy. Now, there was, of course, a social stigma against this. You know, why should I have to play by the rules if you're not? But since everyone kind of hated rationing, it wasn't that uncommon. They say that a full 17% of the meat that was being sold in the U.S. at the time was being sold via the black market. And the
Black
people who were
market
doing this
meat
were not called bootleggers like they were during Prohibition, but meatleggers. And they were put on the same plane as spies and saboteurs. There isn't any great difference. They're all helping the enemy. But I assure you, I am no meatlegger. I purchased my ground beef on the up and up. The ground beef that I'm using to make my emergency steak, which should be ready to eat. And here we are, emergency steak from the World War
Be a dirty old
II
man
home
and not
front.
get slapped
I
or
mean,
ketamine
it kind
nap.
of looks like a steak, kind of, if you don't look too closely. You squint. It's pretty cool, actually. And it smells good. Smells like meatloaf. Pretty sure it's going to taste like meatloaf because looking back, it's kind of a lot like meatloaf. Here we go.
It doesn't look bad.
That is pleasantly delightful. It does kind of taste like meatloaf, but a little bit different. I was thinking that it wasn't going to have a lot of flavor because there isn't a lot of spice or anything in there, but it actually has a really good amount of flavor. Maybe the Wheaties really add something. I mean, I think you could put like a sauce with it, but I don't think you really need it. It's really good as is. Emergency steak. Very nice. Now, the rationing of meat pretty much ended with the end of the war, I think shortly thereafter, and most of the rationing ended at the end of the war or shortly thereafter. But there was one ingredient
I want to try
that
it.
was rationed all the way until 1947, and it was the ingredient that had been the very first to be rationed, and that is sugar. So pretty crazy that it was still being rationed 2 years after the end of the war. But that is nothing in comparison with what Great Britain had to go through. They were still rationing certain ingredients, meat being one of them, until 1954, 9 years after the end of the war. So America had it pretty good in comparison.
Yeah, you could probably mix
But I
it.
will touch on England or Great Britain and how they dealt with the home front and rationing and living on the home front because they were actually part of the war. Battle of Britain, all that rot. So probably won't be the next one that I do in this series, or it might be.
Okay, what else has he covered? Ah, yes, the disturbing origins of Kellogg's cornflakes. Kellogg is, yep. I actually like cornflakes. Alright! I ate the leftover KFC. Cold. Yo, Viking funeral bird? Yo, brownies? Mmm. Hang on, I'll be right back real quick. And then we can decide on what to watch. All right, I'm back. 1940s deep dish pizza.
Chicago-style deep dish pizza has to be one of the most polarizing and controversial foods out there. From Jon Stewart's famous rant,
It's a casserole.
to the feuds between fellow Chicago.
Do you know what actually blew my mind? I did not know until, like, I don't know, within the past 6 years, sometime between the past 6 years, I did not know that pizzas were called pies. I want to open a chicken shack so I can call it KGB, the motto when you're rushing for chicken, there's no time for stuff. Oh my god. Yeah, I never understood why he said like a big pizza pie. I never understood why he said pie. I was like, but pizza, pizza. Why is a pizza a pie?
Chicagoans about which deep dish pizza place is the best. And since I am not one to ever sidestep a quagmire, I have decided to jump into this controversy by making the first recipe from the 1940s for what would eventually evolve into the modern deep dish pizza. So thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video as I look at the sordid and controversial history of deep dish pizza. This time on Tasting History.
I like pizza. Pizza good.
So I am back in my kitchen finally after like 6 weeks. And I'm loving it. It looks different.
Sorry,
different
sneezing
is
a lot.
scary, but frankly, it's more user-friendly. And since this is actually my kitchen and not just a set where I film, user-friendly is good. Unfortunately, that did mean that I had to get rid of my beautiful gas oven. It was leaking and
Can't have a gas oven here. My apartment, you can't have anything gas. All my stuff is electric. I have an electric oven. Works just fine. There's no problem with it. It's just not it's not gas, it's just electric. And obviously, it makes sense, right? Why my apartment has no gas. Anything that could potentially be a fire hazard could cause this entire building to go fucking poof. So every single apartment, every single condo, every single fucking room in this apartment has sprinklers. Which was really interesting because I'm used to cooking on a flame with gas. That was where I used to live, when I lived in the middle of nowhere. Came here. Now I have to... There's one thing I don't like about my electric induction conduction stovetop. I don't know what it is. But it's the one... It's not the one with where the spirals, but it's the one where it's like flat. It's fully flat. Easy to clean, and underneath it like heats up. It takes a while to heat up. Is the one thing I don't like about it. But it gets hot enough. Definitely gets hot enough to cook. Just takes a little longer. That's all. And I'm like, you know what? That's a minor inconvenience.
and not great, but that means I have a new oven that I have to christen, and I decided what better to christen a new oven with than pizza. And when deciding on a pizza, I decided to do Chicago deep dish, and since this is tasting history, I'm not just making a deep dish pizza, I am looking back in time to find one of the earliest recipes for Chicago-style deep dish. And one has to ask, do you prefer Chicago-style deep dish, or do you prefer a New York-style or just more traditional-style crust pizza? I have to say I've always fallen into the traditional-style pizza camp, but that's what
I don't
grew
mind
up
either.
eating, like Peter Piper pizza and stuff. But I actually didn't even get to try a real Chicago-style pizza until I went to Chicago last year. I went to several places that served deep dish and stuffed pizza. We'll get into that. But I didn't go to the place that it all originated, which was Pizzeria Uno, located at 29 East Ohio Street in Chicago. It opened in 1943, and in 1945, newspapers around the country published an article that had a recipe from the owner, Rick Ricardo, not to be confused with Ricky Ricardo. And I love that at the time, pizza was such a novelty food, at least here in the US, that the author, Gaynor Maddox, had to explain what it was. Pizza, pronounced pizza, is an Italian pie with a savory filling, usually made of sausage
Pizza,
or anchovies
pronounced
and cheese.
pizza.
It's the after-the-movie snack favorite of teenagers. Also, I came across this old 1945 article while reading
Pizza.
a modern article by Peter Regas, who is a Chicago-based food historian who is obsessed with pizza and knows like everything about it. I was really impressed with his research, and he just kept popping up while I was working
pizza?
on this video. Anyway, we'll talk more about him
I love more pizza.
and his work in the history section of the video, but this is the recipe
pizza.
section of the video. And I'm actually going to be using 2 recipes to make this recipe, because the first recipe from 1945 has
Have a good day,
details
Smile.
on how to make the
Bye-bye.
crust and how to make the sauce. But in 1947, another article was published that detailed how to assemble a deep dish pizza. Both recipes were written by Rick Ricardo, so I feel like I can kind of mash the 2 together to make one recipe that's like the pizza that he would have been serving around 1947. And I'll put actually both full recipes on
know what
the
I love
website,
about pizza?
tastinghistory.com, so you can see them.
If you don't
But for
finish
the
it, it
purpose
goes in
of
the
video,
fridge.
I'm mashing them together
Leftover
to make
pizza
it
keeps well
easier to follow
in the fridge.
along. And
So, you
recipes
know,
should
you buy a
be
little
easy to
really
follow
big
along,
pizza
just
and
like
it-
the wonderful recipes from
You're
today's
just like,
sponsor,
okay, I'm
HelloFresh.
fed for like
Now
the
that I
next
have my kitchen once again,
few
I can
days.
finally get back to making my weekly HelloFresh meal. And
Love
I love
pizza.
making them because they're super easy and you don't have to go grocery shopping because all of the ingredients are delivered to your door and they are pre-portioned, so there isn't even any prep work. You can just get right to cooking. They have over 45 weekly recipes to choose from, including vegetarian.
Has
and
anyone
pescatarian
tried
recipes,
HelloFresh?
and my favorite
What,
is
stuff
quick
like
and
this?
easy recipes like the shawarma spiced
Like
beef
Factor,
and
I
golden
think?
raisin pitas that I made last night. They only took around 15 minutes to make, and they were as delicious as all of the meals that I've had from HelloFresh. And it's not just their meals that are delicious, but also their appetizers, like these sesame ginger chicken gyoza, which I had for a great snack before filming today. And right now, both new and returning customers can go to HelloFresh.com and use my code AppsTastingHistory to get free appetizers for life.
I looked into
There's
it.
one free
I was like, how
appetizer
much
in
am I
every
actually
box while the
saving?
subscription is
And I
active.
looked into
So
it.
use my code
It's not that much.
AppsTastingHistory at HelloFresh.com.
In fact, I think it's more expensive.
For free appetizers for life. But I am making a main dish, and that main dish is deep dish pizza. Now, the original recipe calls for making 6 pizzas, and while I could probably eat 6 pizzas, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to make one 12-inch pizza. So to make the dough, which is rather different than the modern style deep dish dough, what you'll need is 1 cup or 235 milliliters of whole milk, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of melted butter, 2.5 teaspoons of
made,
dried yeast, 2.5 cups or 300 grams of flour, and 2
homemade pizza in a
tablespoons of
long
lukewarm
time.
water. So first, scald the milk by heating it to around
So
180
tempting.
degrees Fahrenheit or
To
80
do
degrees
again.
Celsius, and then remove it from the heat and whisk in the sugar and the salt. Set it aside to cool to lukewarm as you add the yeast to the water. Now once the milk is cooled, you can add it to the yeast and then add in the melted butter and about half of the flour. Mix the dough until it starts to come together, then begin to add the rest of the flour in, but just a little at a time, working
What
it
is
in
this
before
machine called?
adding any more. You may not actually even need all of the flour, you just want to add enough so that you end up with a smooth but not sticky dough. Knead it for a few minutes either in a machine or by hand, and then set it in a lightly oiled
Dough
bowl,
mixer?
cover it,
I
and
don't know
let it
what they're
rise for
called.
about an hour. Then uncover it, then punch it down, knead it into a ball, and set it back into the oiled bowl, and cover it, and put it in the refrigerator for 1 hour. Now, as I said, this recipe makes a very different dough than what you would typically have
Stand
for
mixer
deep
with a
dish
dough-
today,
dough hook,
which
that's
has
right.
a lot more butter, or sometimes even olive oil or
So
other
tempting
oils
to get one
make
of
it
those.
More like a short crust, kind of a crumbliness, rather than bread-like, whereas this is pretty bread-like because it has a lot more gluten worked into the dough. And just as the dough is different, so too is the sauce. First of all, the recipe actually calls for canned tomatoes. And I'm thinking
My dad has a
that
fancy
maybe that was
KitchenAid at
just
one
for the
time.
purpose
It was like
of
$400.
the article, and that he used fresh tomatoes in the restaurant.
I need a
but
new
I don't
microwave.
know, so I am going to be using canned tomatoes.
Current microwave I had that
Also,
came
the
with this
amount of
apartment
sauce
is
in that original recipe
kind of fucking
is
shit.
not adequate, and I did not
gonna throw it
realize
out and
that
get a
until
new
I was
one.
actually assembling the pizza, and then I looked closely at both recipes. So the 1945 recipe is definitely for a thin crust and just a little bit of sauce, like you would find in Italy at the time. Something though happened between 1945 and 1947 that totally changed the way he was making this pizza. First, he says that the dough should not be thin, and he says that you should be generous with the tomatoes.
Huh.
So more like a deep dish pizza. So I am doubling the amount of the sauce. So use 4 cups of crushed tomatoes, which you'll pass through a conical sieve, and then add 1 finely minced garlic clove. Not nearly enough
love garlic.
in my opinion, but there it is. A quarter teaspoon of
replaced
thyme,
ours 'cause the
a
old one
quarter
had one
teaspoon
through the
of
bottom with a
rosemary,
wheel
and
spun.
a quarter teaspoon of basil, and all of those should be dry
Fair enough.
rather than fresh. Then 1 dried bay leaf, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 whole onion. I thought that the onion would need to be chopped, but if you look later in the recipe, it says to take out the whole onion. So it's just a whole onion that he pops into the sauce. Mix everything together and then add in 4 cups of water.
What?
I also thought that this was kind of odd because
But what are you
you're
gonna
just
do with
make
the
a
onion?
very
Throw it
watery
out?
sauce. But then
What a
you're going to
waste!
simmer the sauce for 2 to 3 hours, and you're going to let all of that water evaporate until
What?
you have a nice thick sauce once again. Now as the sauce cooks, you can take the dough out of the refrigerator, let it come to room temperature, and then spread it out into a circle, or whatever polygon I ended up making, and then set that into a cake pan that has been oiled with olive oil. And you want to have the dough come up the sides just as you would for a pie. Now I brought mine all the way up, which to be honest is probably too thick, because if you look at pictures from the 1940s and early 50s, the pies are not quite as thick. They're only about 1 inch, and I think I went closer to 1.5 inches, even 2 inches. C'est la vie. Once the dough is in though, you can cover it up and let it rise until the sauce is ready. And then it is time to assemble the pizza, and this is where things get kind of weird. See, in that 1945 recipe, it is getting assembled like a traditional pizza with the sauce and then the cheese and toppings on top of that. But something happened by 1947 where that switched, and the cheese goes on bottom and the sauce goes on top, which is what is done in a deep dish pizza today. I just think it's cool that looking at these 2 recipes, separated by only 2 years, we can see this very major change in how deep dish pizza was assembled. Now, what is weird? That's not weird. What is really quite weird is that at the time, you could have a cheese pizza, or you could have an anchovy pizza, or you could have a sausage pizza. You wouldn't get the cheese and the toppings.
What
so it was
is
sauce and one of those 3 things.
Public
which I think
domain.
is kind of odd. So if you want to do sausage, that's fine, but you should omit the cheese if you're sticking to this original recipe. I'm playing it safe and just going with a traditional cheese pizza.
What?
And
What?
make a
Up
cheese
to
pizza,
what
the
year are we public
1947
domain right
recipe
now?
says that once the dough is in, you should fill the plate with thin slices
anyone
of
know?
mozzarella cheese, cover the cheese with tomato sauce, and be generous with the tomatoes. On top of the tomatoes, sprinkle plenty of grated Parmesan cheese, a couple of generous pinches of oregano, and some freshly ground pepper. Then sprinkle with a few drops of olive oil all over. Then you pop that into an oven at 500 degrees Fahrenheit, 260 Celsius for 20 minutes or until it's done. This is a new oven for me, so I'm still trying to gauge the time. 20 minutes was a little too long, darkened up the crust too much, so it ended up being about 18, but just keep an eye on it. And while you do that, we can talk about the rather controversial history of Chicago's deep dish pizza.
Here we go.
Now, there are numerous
Deep
stories
dish
about
pizza.
the origins of the deep dish pizza, and frankly, most of them conflict with each other, so they can't all
What
be
do you
true.
guys like?
I
Deep
have
dish
been
or
won over,
traditional?
Personally, by the story told by Peter Regas. He is the food historian that I mentioned earlier, because his research is fantastic. Rather than just accepting the stories that
You don't
are
like
told,
deep dish?
he
Why?
actually
What's wrong
went
with
and
deep dish?
looked at evidence from the period to disprove a lot of the falsities and half-truths.
I will also
in
take
many of
traditional,
these
but, like, I
stories.
wanna know the
But
reasons.
To uncover the truth about the history of
You want to
deep
use your
dish,
hands?
we actually
Do you
have
not
to
use your
start
hands with deep dish, or you're
with
not
the
able to?
official and probably incorrect story that comes from Pizzeria Uno themselves, the original home of the deep dish pizza. See, according to the company, it was founded in 1943 by Ike Sewell and Rick Ricardo. Ike, being from Texas, wanted to open up a Mexican food restaurant, but Rick had never tried Mexican food, so they made some, and Rick became violently ill and decided that he didn't like Mexican food, and so he fled to Italy for 3 months to come back with a recipe for pizza and an idea to open up a pizza restaurant. Well, Ike was fine with that, except being from Texas, he thought that that Italian pizza was too thin, too namby-pamby, and that he needed a heftier, everything is bigger in Texas style pizza, and so he wanted it deeper. Hence the deep dish. Now you'll note that that version of events is from Ike Sewell, and he only started telling that story after Rick had died. And that, my dear viewer, is because it is utter codswallop. For me, the story falls apart right at the beginning when Rick tries Mexican food and doesn't like it, because how can you not like Mexican food? But more telling is what Peter Regas points out, and that is that in 1943, when Rick made his vacation to Italy to study pizza, he would have done so at the same time that the Allies were invading Italy during the height of World War II.
Huh.
Yeah, that just doesn't really pan out. Even more evidence comes in the form of leases and liquor license applications that show that Ike Sewell was not really part of it for the first year, pretty much, that the restaurant was going on. And so that's probably why, years later, Rick's then wife was quoted as saying, "Ike Sewell didn't know beans about deep dish pizza. I think Sewell is a crook." Now, I don't know if he's a crook or not. That might be going a bit too far, but a teller of tall tales, most definitely. What's interesting is that it might not have even been Rick Ricardo's idea to make it into a pizza restaurant, because it kind of already was a pizza restaurant. See, Rick
Detroit-style pizza is probably my favorite thing on it, but I just like bread.
Pizzeria Uno, or that would become Pizzeria Uno.
I'm okay with bread.
But when they were living there,
I enjoy bread.
The ground floor was actually a place called the Pelican, or the Pelican Tap.
Always
And
been a rice girl.
They served
Always.
pizza. But it was a really rough and tumble kind of place. It probably actually closed down
Bread's good.
to a murder that took place there. And so when that happened, Rick bought...
Can I just say, it wasn't until this year I realized how nice fucking just putting butter on like a nice bread was. Not white bread. Not the regular fucking white bread, but like an actual fucking, like a Vienna or something. Or like a sourdough, and just putting fucking butter on it and then eating it like that. I was just like, what the fuck? I've never tried doing that before. And I tried it this year, and I was just like, I actually like it. I don't know how I had never tried it so long, but you know, just regular butter. It's butter and bread.
Place downstairs.
Not even on toast.
Decided that he would turn it into a pizza place, probably because it was already fitted out with pizza stuff. Mostly though, it wasn't
I
that
love
he
buttered
wanted
toast.
to make pizza. It was that he didn't want it to become the kind of place that it had been before. Ricardo, then living above the place, bought it for a pizzeria restaurant so that no damned noisy tavern with a jukebox could take it. Now, when it first opened in 1943, Pizzeria Uno was simply called The Pizzeria. And then
Yeah,
it
bread,
was
rolls, and butter.
Ricardo's Pizzeria, or Pizzeria Ricardo, and had several other names before it finally became Pizzeria Uno, which is still what it's called, and it's still in its original location on Ohio and Wabash in Chicago. Not long after they opened, business was booming, so they opened another spot just down the street called Pizzeria Due. And many of Chicago's other famous deep dish places, like Lou Malnati's and Gino's East, can also trace their origins back to this original Pizzeria Uno. But those origin stories also are maybe not so true. For instance, Lou Malnati's. Some often claim that Lou's father, Rudy, was the original manager of Pizzeria Uno and was the real genius behind the first deep dish pizza. But that ain't true, because the original manager was Rick Ricardo's cousin, and after he left, there was another guy named Gino Volpe who was manager for a number of years. It wasn't until the 1950s that it seems Rudy even appears as manager. Now his son Lou Malnati, also worked there as a bartender, and in 1971, he decided to strike out on his own and open up his own pizza place. Lou Malnati's now has lots of locations, and I did eat at one when I was in Chicago last fall. Now the other spot that has ties to Pizzeria
don't like
Uno
the look
is
at that. Hang on.
Gino's, and then Gino last.
Is this what deep dish pizza looks like? Like this? Surely not, right? Not really? Oh, okay, good.
Now the other spot that has ties to Pizzeria Uno is Gino's, and then Gino's East, which were opened by Sam Levine, Fred Bartoli, and George Laverdi. But while two of those guys were actually from Italy, later they admit we didn't know pizza from nothing. So they had the rather bright idea of poaching the chef from the most popular pizza place in town at the time, and at the time that was Pizzeria Due, and the head chef there was a woman named Alice May Redmond. Now she had come to Chicago back in the 1940s
pizza I need to eat with a fork
from
loses points
Mississippi,
immediately.
and she is the person who probably has the most effect on what would become Chicago deep dish pizza because she totally changed the style of the crust. See, she was working with the crust that we are making today, which is more like a bread dough. And she said that she had trouble stretching it into the pan, and that's because a bread dough kind of shrinks back in. It is a little difficult to work with. So she doubled or even tripled the amount of butter. Basically, what she said that she did was she used a biscuit recipe that her family had been using to make the dough more like a biscuit so she could stretch it out more, and that's kind of what it is today. Now, some say that she was successfully poached from
I might have to
Pizzeria
end
Due,
stream
so
soon.
her daughter
Oh,
said
Jesus.
that actually she was working at both places at the same time. She was at Pizzeria Due during the day, and then at night she would go to Gino's. And it was only when somebody at Pizzeria Due found this out that they said, well, you got to pick one. Well, she chose Gino's, and she was there for a while. Then she went to Gino's East, and it seems that wherever she went, that was the best pizza
What a
place in town.
coincidence
First
that
it
the
was
best
Pizzeria Una,
chef-
she was chef there. Then
If
it
you
was
follow
Due,
the chef.
then it was Gino's, then it was Gino's East. So she should get a lot of the credit, I think, for making the best pizza, and yet she is the one person in this story who never had a restaurant of her own. Now, it's also during this time period, like the 60s and 70s, that, so she's changed the crust, but also the pizzas start getting deeper. They go from about an inch,
Ugh.
inch and a half to 2 inches, and they
No
start
thanks.
playing with it. And some people start making what's known as a stuffed deep dish pizza, and that's basically an extra layer of dough, and all of the stuff is on the inside. and then there's stuff on
that's
top.
not even a
This makes
pizza
it
anymore
even
to me.
more like a casserole. The place that made that stuffed deep dish pizza famous is a place called Giordano's, and I did go there as well. And that place actually, I think, has
the
the best
fuck?
cheese pull, but it's just way too
I'd
heavy.
try it,
Then there's
but
Pequod's, which I didn't get to go to.
probably wouldn't
and
be able to
they
enjoy it
also
like a
do
pizza.
not have any connection to the original Pizzeria Uno, but they were making deep dish pizza, and they started putting cheese on the outside. It kind of made a crust of caramelized cheese. Next time I go, I really want to try that. Now, each of these pizza places in Chicago seems to have their fans and their detractors, and I think that it's like a favorite pastime of Chicagoans to argue about which is best, especially when talking to tourists, because I feel like a lot of the Chicagoans don't actually even go to these places as much as the tourists do. But I was a tourist, so I went. Anyway, I'm not going to weigh in on what's best and what's not, except that I am going to weigh in on a pizza that isn't served anymore because it is the original deep dish style pizza from the 1940s.
All right,
And
I'm
here
looking
we
for.
are. Rick Ricardo's original 1940s deep dish pizza.
It's
I mean, look at that
burned!
melty cheese. It,
Okay, well, he mentioned it was
smells
burned because he
amazing.
was new oven and.
Let's give it a try. And this is definitely a fork and knife pizza. You don't pick this up with your hand. Here we go.
I'm gonna be real. Having to
That's
use a
really good.
fork for pizza, it's not something that bothers me.
So the sauce
I hate
is
touching
a
things.
little more watery than I would like, and I think that
I hate touching
that's
food,
just- I just
especially.
need to cook it a little bit longer
Even
to
more
let
so
more of the,
if it leaves like
water
any
evaporate,
form
but
of like
the
residue.
The flavor is fantastic.
Any food that's oily
It
to touch my
is
hands, I'll
like
immediately
maybe a
get
little bit more
triggered.
garlic, but it is plenty flavorful enough. And that cheese, it's a nice, good.
If I don't have a
amount of
way to
cheese.
like wipe my hand or
And the
like
sauce
clean it,
isn't
I'll
too
I'll
much.
fucking get really
Sometimes you get
stressed.
deep dish today, and it's like 80% sauce, 20% cheese. I'd say this is 50-50, and that's the way I like it. One more bite. And the crust on the bottom it's cooked. It's not crisp, but it's nice and cooked through and bready. But I am going to just take a piece of this crust, which is really more like bread. It is not like a traditional deep dish that you'd have today. Get some sauce on there. Nice and chewy, super flavorful. I love it. I gotta say, it lies somewhere between modern deep dish and something more like a New York style pizza. And I
So,
kind of like
New
that.
York style
to me
pizza is just
so
like
heavy.
the regular
2
kind,
bites
right?
And I'm done for the day. I'm down for the count. But this, I could have several slices. Now, one more funny thing about that 1947 article. So the author talks about you get cheese, or you get anchovies, or you get sausage. But someday, when I'm very hungry, I'm going to try a pizza with the mozzarella cheese and the sausage and the anchovies. That should be something. This, of course, is how we eat pizza all the time today, with the cheese and the toppings. There's no reason to choose between the two, and frankly, he's right, it is something because pizza is awesome. And I will see you next time on Tasting History.
Yay! That's a lot of patrons. What's your favorite style of pizza? Guys. Sorry, not sorry. What's favorite toppings on pizza? Let me just explain that, what I'm asking properly. What is your favorite topping? Yeah, favorite toppings. Hand-tossed pepperoni and jalapenos. It's my simple go-to and has never disappointed. So I had this pepperoni pizza from a local place. I think I'm gonna go back there for pizza some other time. But they did their pepperoni, and their pepperoni has... They have garlic with their pepperoni as well. It's like a garlic something that they mix in with their pepperoni pizzas. And I really liked it. It has like actually become my favorite style of pepperoni pizza. It's like pepperoni and garlic. I don't know why, the pepperoni just has garlic. I'm just like, oh. And I ate it and I'm like, wow, that's actually really nice. What is the ant walkers of Hiroshima?
On August the 6th, 1945, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima was named Little Boy, and it was designed to detonate before hitting the ground. The city had a population of around 350,000 people. The initial explosion killed over 78,000 people.
Spicy pepperoni and
Some would
jalapeno roll,
say
but no one has
these
spicy
were the
pepperoni.
lucky ones. It's the accounts of
Oh,
people who
actually,
survived.
this place that I got this pizza from gave us the option between mild and spicy pepperoni. I was like, I want to try the mild one first. Next time I'm getting the spicy one. So it's gonna be spicy pepperoni and garlic or whatever pizza. Probably when I actually get paid, I'm probably gonna go back there to get more pizza. Because their pizzas were so big! They were so big! I had like two, 3 slices and I'm like, ooh. I'm done. And there was so much pizza left over and I was so happy. I was so happy that there was leftover pizza. Because then next day, preheats the oven, puts it in the oven. Oh man! And now the crust is all crispy.
That truly describe a hell on earth, and it's those accounts that I'm going to be exploring today.
I'm probably gonna finish this video.
Hello everybody.
And we're gonna
Shrouded
learn
Fan
about...
here. This is the horror of the Hiroshima bomb.
Okay,
The accounts
I see.
in this video come from Charles Pellegrino's book, To Hell and Back, The Last Train from Hiroshima. If you want to hear more stories like this, I recommend reading the book, because this video only
Wood fire pizza,
scratches the
olive and garlic
surface
base
of
with
the nightmares
mozz,
described.
prosciutto, and
A short time ago,
arugula.
an American-
What is that? What is? I opened this video, but the voice didn't keep me captivated enough to stay. Yeah, I'm not that big a fan of the way he's talking. It's too soft. And I actually agree with what you did. It's a leaf. Ah. Maybe I'll watch something else. Every level of hell explained in 12 minutes. Dante's Inferno.
Level
Okay.
1, Limbo. The first level isn't really considerable hell. It's basically Earth, but you can't die, with the only punishment being the knowledge that the current state they're in will be the same for eternity. Dante himself defined it as the place where instead of screaming, there is sighing. It's where unbaptized babies go, and where righteous people who were born before Christ reside, such as Plato and Socrates. Some people actually went from the limbo level to heaven when Jesus died on the cross, since he came down to the limbo and brought them with him. However, they're mostly Old Testament figures like Adam, Abel, Noah, Moses, etc. Julius Caesar is also in the limbo, since Dante was a big fan of ancient Rome, even though he couldn't put him into heaven because he was born before Christ. Minos. Before the first actual level of hell, there is Minos, which is a figure from ancient Greek mythology that judges where people need to go in the underworld based on their
Inferno.
actions. Whenever someone comes into contact with him, they can't help but tell the truth. Level 2. Lust. This is where people who've committed sexual sins go, and it's the most used temptation by the devils to bring people into hell. Here we can find great winds, strong like a hurricane, with people who get pushed back and forth constantly without the opportunity of getting some rest. In Dante's Divine Comedy, there is a principle called contrapasso, which means that the punishments of souls need to be done by a process either resembling or contrasting with the sin itself. For this exact reason, people who lived blown about by the passions of love now have to be blown about by actual winds. Some famous figures are found in this layer, such as Dido, Paris, and Cleopatra, who isn't in hell just because she was lustful, but also because she was an enemy of Rome. Level 3.
Oh, okay.
In Level 3, there is a constant pouring of a mixture of rain, sleet, snow,
I always
and
love if you
hail,
think that
with people
is anything but a
constantly being
fanfic.
pelted with ice. It's here that we can also
literature,
find
man.
Cerberus, the three-headed dog from Greek mythology, who runs around and shreds people to pieces. But since they can't die, they either just regenerate and stay in a loop of suffering for eternity, or just lay there forever. This punishment is because, according to the principle of contrapasso, those who always ate are now being eaten. Most of the people here are laying down and playing dead so Cerberus doesn't get to them, and when it tried to go for Dante, Virgil, who is his guide, threw dirt in its three mouths, distracting it. It's at this level that we learn that on Judgment Day, everyone's soul will be reunited with their body and be in a
The best thing to come from Dante's Inferno is literally Devil May Cry. Like, actually, just Devil May Cry is the best thing to come from Dante's Inferno.
state of perfection. But while perfection sounds good in heaven, in hell, it means perfect suffering. Level 4, Greed. When they first enter Level 4, they see a sea of people constantly running into each other like waves and beating each other with big money bags. In between them, Dante sees some bald people who were commonly friars, so he asks Virgil if they're members of the church. Virgil says that half of them are indeed members of the church, and the other half are just people who fought to hoard wealth on Earth. They are now forced to literally fight for nothing, just as they fought for useless earthly wealth. We also can't find recognizable famous figures here, because their faces have been so disfigured from hundreds of years of fighting that they're unrecognizable.
Oh, okay,
Level
fair
5,
enough.
Wrath. This one isn't to be confused with violence, as it's just for people who were mean and angry all the time. There is a sea of mud with people constantly trying to push each other down to come out on top, and there are bubbles coming up from the mud, which are actually coming from people underneath screaming and crying. The sullen can also be found in this level, and they lie beneath the sea, eternally gurgling their lamentations. This level has the river Styx, which is also filled with people, and Dante and Virgil take Phlegis's boat, who is a Greek mythology character that acts as the boatman that takes souls from the fifth layer to the lower circles of hell. While they're getting nearer to their destination,
There is so
Dante
many
sees a
different
red light,
religions
which is the
mixed
city of
into here.
Dis.
It's
The city of
fucking
Dis
insane.
encompasses the sixth through the ninth circles of hell, and it's characterized by its fortified walls and fiery landscape. So, from now on, every level is going to be in the city of Dis. When they get to the gates, some fallen angels appear
what?
and tell Dante that he isn't dead yet, and he isn't supposed to go there, so they lock the gates even though Virgil tried to explain that they're on a mission from God. Furthermore, the three Furies come out from the pillars of the gate, covered in blood and snakes, and begin yelling for Medusa, forcing Dante and Virgil to cover their eyes to not become stones and stay there forever. As things are getting bad,
Remember that the
an
Divine
actual
Comedy
heavenly
isn't
angel
canon
comes
to the
down from
Christ
heaven
Christ
with a
verse.
huge roar and starts walking across the river Styx. As he's walking, the sea of souls gets pushed to the sides to make room for it. The angel then arrives at the gates, touches them, and they instantly open, revealing the fallen angels hiding cowardly behind them. The angel warns them that Dante and Virgil are really on a mission from God, and that if they were to hinder their journey, they would suffer greatly. Level 6, Heresy. This is the first layer where people
Heretic!
are sinning against someone else. So from here on, they get active torture and suffering instead of just misery. As they reach level 6, where the heretics reside, they see tombs cut out of rock laid along each other, where people are laying down, constantly being stoked with flames. There are fallen angel guards who make sure everybody's lying down and properly suffering. We can also find King Frederick II here, since he was in the opposite faction of Dante's when there was a war between the Pope and the Emperor. Level 7, Violence. The 7th level is divided into 3 parts. The outer
Beware
ring
the
for
alien,
violence against
the
others,
mutant,
the middle ring
the
for
heretic.
violence against themselves, and the inner ring for violence against God. In the first part, the outer ring, we find the river Phlegethon, made of boiling blood, where people are forced to burn for eternity by the centaurs, who guard it and make sure no one gets out. Alexander the Great is here, since he killed a lot of people, and we learn that the river gets deeper the closer the souls are to the middle, with some people being completely buried, and some being able to take their heads out and breathe. In the second part, the middle
You even
ring,
need to
there's a
breathe if you
dark
can't die?
forest
Like,
filled with
would
dead
you just
trees
stop breathing and not
harpies,
care
which are
anymore?
human bird
I don't know, man.
amalgamations flying back and forth. Dante hears lots of screaming, but he can't see anybody, so Virgil tells him to pull off a branch from a tree. When he does so, blood comes out of the tree and it starts screaming. That's because the trees are actually people who committed unalivement. And since they wanted to get rid of their bodies, now they have to spend eternity in something that is not their body. These tree people grow fruits, which are part of their bodies that get eaten by the harpies, causing them great pain. When Judgment Day comes, these trees will have their lifeless bodies
The need to
hanging from them,
breathe
making
probably
them
isn't
remember
taken
what
from
they
you,
have
so you
done
just
forever.
can
In the
just
third part,
enjoy
the
that
inner
pain
ring,
forever too. Yeah.
There's a sand pit full of naked people who are screaming the most out of every level yet. That's because there are pieces of fire falling down on the sand, making it scorching hot. Also,
Okay.
if one of the souls gets tired of walking on boiling sand for eternity and it lays down, they would have to stay in that position for 100 years, exposing more of their bodies to the burns. In this layer, we can find Capaneus, who's a giant that's laying there and laughing while saying it isn't that bad. He's doing this because he doesn't want to let the Roman god Jove, who killed him, know that he's suffering. We can also see people who stare at purses all the time, and they're the usurers, those who gave out loans with high interest rates, because they defy God's law that each effort gives a result, since they made no efforts and got lots of results. Level 8,
okay.
Fraud.
Fair
Level 8
enough.
is divided into 10 trenches called Bolgias, where people who made different kinds of frauds are. The first Bolgia is for those who betrayed love. For
Bolgia.
example, we can find a guy who sold his sister to a lustful man. They are forced to run from one end of the trench to the other, as devils whip them if they go too slow. The second Bolgia is for the deceptive speakers, those who lied to get what they wanted, and it consists of a giant pitfall of poop. The idea
Ew.
is that those who behest now are full of BS, always fighting and trying to push each other down. In the third Bolgia, we can find the simoniacs, those who sold sacred goods, like holy sacraments or passes to get one's familiars out of purgatory for cash. Dante put them in here because, back then, it was a huge problem in the church, with leaders selling pardons. The ground and bottom of the Bolgia are on fire, and there are random hot coals that shoot up with flames. The only way to avoid them is to get into holes in the ground, but since they only cover the top part of the body, the feet stay up and get burned. Here we can find Pope Nicholas III, who Dante thought started the trend of getting paid for pardons. The Pope says to Dante that whenever the next Pope comes to take his place, he needs to dig deeper underground to leave room for the successor. The fourth Bolgia is for sorcerers and seers, basically witches, and the only punishment they have is that their heads are twisted backwards, so they have to walk backwards for the rest of eternity.
That's not that
In the
bad.
fifth Bolgia, the
Wait, hang
Beretors are
on.
found, which
That
are
is
people-
like the most mild fucking torture, Ace. Your head is backwards. Oh, okay. Lord, that's not that bad. Is that? This is like the most tame of everything that's been listed. But kill the car thing? I don't give a shit. This is the most tame thing. Your head's backwards. Oh,
have to
well.
walk backwards for the rest of eternity. In the fifth Bolgia, the Beretors are found, which are people who exchange money for political favors and corruption. They are in a pot of boiling tar, with devils keeping them in with rods. The sixth Bolgia, for the hypocrites, is composed of people with beautiful robes from the outside, but ugly on the inside, and really, really heavy. The hypocrites are forced to walk with them on for eternity, and there's also a man crucified in the middle of the Bolgia, Caiaphas, the high priest who advised the Pharisees to crucify Jesus. The other robed hypocrites have to step on him with their heavy robes. The seventh Bolgia is for thieves, and there are giant lizard snake things that have stingers that turn people into ash.
Giant
People
lizards,
run
okay.
with some sort of snake handcuffs behind their back, being stung into ash and regenerating in an eternal loop. In the eighth Bolgia, we can find evil leaders and counselors, and we can see a long area with little fires that look like fireflies, while in actuality, there are souls underneath them who burn all the time. Since everyone who led others to death with treachery and leadership is here, we can find Ulysses too, since back then, they thought that the world had a limit, and they thought that Ulysses went onto the sea with his crew until the end of the world, where they fell off and died. In the 9th Bolgia, we can find the Sowers of Discord, and there's a sea of carnage that looks like it's from every war in history, with every imaginable part of the body ripped to shreds. It's for people who purposefully caused trouble, and there are demons picking people up, ripping them to shreds, and throwing them into that sea, where they lay alive forever, feeling the other body parts being thrown onto them. For some reason, Dante also put Prophet Muhammad from Islam here too. In the 10th and last Bolgia, we can find the liars and falsifiers in a pitch-black scenario. Dante had to cover his ears from the shrieking that he heard, and it's because there's a constant pestilence of illnesses far beyond the ones on Earth, such as people covered in giant scabs that look like fish scales that itch all over their body that once scratched away bleed and grow back. Level 9. Treason. The 9th level, the deepest one, is a frozen lake divided into 4 regions based on who the souls betrayed: kindred and family, country, guests and friends, and God. The heads of the sinners pop out from the frozen lake, and they stay frozen from the neck down forever, with their own tears becoming frozen. The center of this lake is the center of hell itself. Dante encounters Friar Alberigo, who he knew personally and was still alive. So when he asked him how it's possible that he's there while alive, Alberigo told him that if someone commits a really bad sin, his soul goes straight into hell in the 9th level, and the body gets possessed by a demon, which is how demon possessions happen. Alberigo himself invited a friend over and murdered him, thus betraying his trust. As they go towards the center, Dante feels a wind, and once he gets close enough, Virgil explains that it's the wind caused by Lucifer's wings. Lucifer is described as massive, with 3 faces, the one on the right being a dark blackish color, the one in the middle being deep blood red, and the one on the left being a bright burning yellow. From each of these faces, blood and tears pour, running down his body and creating a sort of river. There are only 4 people in this bottom pit of hell. The first is Lucifer, and then there's the 2 on either side of the heads, which are Brutus and Cassius, the 2 members of the Senate who conspired against Caesar. They hang on the left and right sides of Lucifer's heads with their top half hanging out, and they're constantly chewed, with Lucifer reaching up with claws and scratching them for eternity. In the middle head of Lucifer is the most punished man ever, Judas Iscariot, the apostle who betrayed Jesus, facing towards the throat of Lucifer. Dante says he can see his spine and bones as all of his skin has been stripped away. Lucifer got there, at the center of the earth, because when he was cast out of heaven, the lands moved to not touch him, and he got stuck there, shooting a hole through earth. If you want to discuss this video or suggest an idea for the next one,
okay, fair enough, dude. You know what? Fair enough. Actually, fair enough. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about all this. But holy shit, that definitely reads like a fan fiction. It 100% reads like a fan fiction. Alright, I'm gonna end stream here and just probably go temporarily die and resurrect in like a few hours. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. I'm going to take an allergy nap. I'll see you guys next stream. Goodbye! Thank you for hanging out as usual. Dropping that. Okay, goodbye!